Hi, so today we will talk about oxalates. So last week I made a video about anti-nutrients. So it was a general video about anti-nutrients, and now I will make specific videos about each anti-nutrient. So today we will talk about oxalates. So before we start, you can thumb up this video to help me with the YouTube algorithm. You can comment under this video, you can subscribe to my channel if you are interested in natural health, in healing your gut naturally, if you are interested in anti-nutrients and many other things. I make 2 videos per week about natural health and gut health particularly. I have a course on my website, thecandidaslayer.com, a course to heal your gut naturally. The link will be under this video in the description box. Okay, let's start. So what are oxalates? So oxalic acid, so we talk about oxalic acid or oxalates. Oxalic acid is an acid and oxalate is the base form of oxalic acid is the same thing. In plants, oxalic acid is found mainly in the form of the less soluble calcium salts, calcium oxalates. Okay, so calcium oxalates are not soluble or very little, and they cause issues because of that, because they precipitate and they form crystals. We will talk about that in the next slides. In the digestive tract, oxalates bind to calcium and iron. Usually when we have oxalate issues, it's because of oxalate, calcium and iron, or iron. And it limits their absorptions. Not only it forms dangerous stones, but also it limits the absorption of these essential nutrients. It can also bind with other metals and minerals like magnesium, zinc, cadmium, mercury, lead. We will talk about that in the next slides. About half of the oxalates that we get comes from food. The other half is made by our own body. Alors, here you have a list of oxalate-rich foods. So, since the beginning, you can see pictures of spinach because spinach are very high in oxalates. So here, this list is not from the highest to the lowest. It's not. They are all of these that are listed here are very rich in oxalates. So you should avoid these foods if you have issues with oxalates. And we will see the symptoms that oxalate toxicity can give in the next slides. So spinach, cabbage, sorrel, rhubarb, parsley, Swiss chard, beets, peanuts, chocolate, black tea, kombucha, beer, sesame seeds, soybeans. Be careful with soy, okay? Soy is very rich in oxalates. Buckwheat, amaranth, sweet potatoes, almonds and other nuts, dried fruits, and pepper, black pepper, okay? You can go on the website oxalate.org. There you have a search bar and you just type the food that you want to research and it will give the amount of oxalate in that food. This is a very good website. Other sources of oxalates. Fungi produce oxalate. Very important to know. If you have an infection in your gut, a fungal infection in your gut or anywhere else in your body, be aware that this fungal infection makes oxalates. You will be much more susceptible to oxalate issues, to kidney stones, if you have a fungal infection in your body. It's mainly Aspergillus and Candida strains. The liver also produces oxalates through the metabolism of amino acids and ascorbic acid. We will talk about that, about ascorbic acid. Don't worry, it's mainly a problem if you are consuming synthetic vitamin C. It's not a problem if you consume natural vitamin C. What is the function of oxalates? So as we talked in the last video about anti-nutrients, so we know that plants use anti-nutrients because they don't want to be eaten. So we know it's the main reason, but not only, and especially for oxalates. So plants create oxalates from the vitamin C they produce. It's very important to know that usually in vegetables when you have oxalates, you have vitamin C. When you have vitamin C, you have oxalates. Okay, so it's good and bad. So we will talk about it later, but there's nothing that is all black or all white. It's a mix of both. If you watched my last video about anti-nutrients, I told you about the bad the bad properties of anti-nutrients and the beneficial properties of anti-nutrients. It has both. So plants make oxalate for several reasons: to absorb calcium from the soils and to regulate it, to store calcium in the seeds for germination, to provide structural support, to attack the digestive system of predators, insects, but also as and animals, as a defense mechanism against fungi. So why are oxalates bad for you? Oxalic acid tends to crystallize. That's what I said earlier. This is the main problem with oxalates. They form stones in the body. So in the body, this affinity for calcium, in the case of a diet very high in oxalate, can lead to the formation of hard crystals, which can cause kidney stones and lead to kidney failure. Oxalates, after combining with heavy metals in the bloodstream, such as mercury or lead, precipitate into bones and other tissues and organs. So it's important to know that. So the good thing about oxalate is that it's a chelator. But you need to be smart about it, because if oxalates get into your bloodstream, that's what you want to avoid. You want to avoid oxalates getting into your bloodstream. You want oxalates to stay in your digestive system and be excreted with your feces. Okay? Because when oxalates combine with heavy metals in the bloodstream, then they will get the heavy metals, get stuck somewhere in your body, and it will be stuck there forever. So it will be much more difficult to detox from heavy metals if heavy metals were bound by oxalates. Oxalates decrease calcium intake, of course, that's what we said, and oxalates inhibit the enzyme pyruvate kinase that is involved in the final stage of the body's energy production. We will talk about it. It leads to the Tourette syndrome. What are the symptoms of oxalate poisoning? How can you know that you have issues with oxalates? You will have one of these symptoms when you eat foods rich in oxalates: pain in the digestive tract, malnutrition, arthritis, muscle pain, osteoporosis, pain with urination or with bowel movements, kidney stones, pain in the back, because that's where, in the lower back, that's where your kidneys are. But actually, the pain can irradiate to the front part, of your body, to your belly, to your stomach. Vulvodynia, that's when you have pain in the vagina. Gout, okay, we will talk about it, but gout is mainly caused by iron oxalate and not calcium oxalate. Frequent urination. Oxalate stones can form in any organ. Very important to know that. It can form in your kidneys, but it can form anywhere else, in your muscles, that's why you can have muscle pain or fibromyalgia, in your heart, in your brain, anywhere. So fibromyalgia, I just explained why. Thyroid issues, because you can have oxalate crystals accumulating in your thyroid and causing inflammation in your thyroid, and therefore it will cause thyroid issues like hypothyroid or Hashimoto, for example. Gilles de la Tourette syndrome, okay, Tourette syndrome, we just talked about that, because oxalates inhibit the enzyme pyruvate kinase, okay, and this leads to this syndrome. And autism, okay, autism is not caused by calcium oxalates. It's a consequence. Autism is mainly caused by toxicity, heavy metal toxicity, by and by a very bad microbiome, gut microbiome. Those are the two main causes of autism. And when you have a very bad gut microbiome, you will be susceptible to have issues with oxalates, as we will talk in the next slides. Causes of oxalate poisoning. Number one, it's not in number of importance. So a vegetarian or a vegan diet. As I explained in my previous video last week about anti-nutrients, we are omnivore beings. We are not herbivores, we are not granivores. We are made to eat both animal products and vegetables, but we are not made to eat huge amounts of vegetables each day. Okay, here on the right you can see pictures of different digestive system. On the top it's the digestive system of the cow. The cow has 4 stomachs and a big cecum that allows her to digest cellulose, to digest plant foods perfectly and to extract all the nutrients from these plant foods. You can see the digestive tract of the rabbit. The rabbit has a huge cecum. The cecum is the machinery especially designed to digest plant foods. It's especially designed for that. The cecum is full of bacteria, and these bacteria will ferment the plant foods. And by fermenting these plant foods, they will extract all the nutrients that then, therefore, the rabbit will be able to absorb, and the bacteria at the same time deactivate the anti-nutrients in the plant foods. We humans have a very, very tiny cecum. Our cecum is our appendix. So this is a vestige of a cecum that we had. So there's a theory saying that we used to have a large cecum, and with evolution we lost that cecum because we actually didn't eat as much plant foods. So we have a tiny cecum. Okay, we can eat vegetables but not huge amounts. So if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, you will have more issues with anti-nutrients and with oxalates, especially if you don't prepare your plant foods correctly. A high sugar diet will cause issues because sugar interferes with the body's ability to absorb calcium and magnesium, and fructose has been linked to an increased risk of kidney stones because fungi and bacteria make oxalates from sugar, particularly fructose. Okay, so we saw that a fungal infection, fungi make oxalates. If you have a fungal infection in your body, you will have issues with oxalates. Okay, and especially if you combine fungal infection and a diet rich in carbs and sugar. Okay, so be very careful with these two things. Alcohol. Beer is rich in oxalate and iron. Okay, so as we said, oxalate can bind with many different metals or minerals. Okay, and oxalates, iron oxalates are very insoluble. They form stones as bad as calcium stones. So calcium and iron stones are really like, they are stones. They crystallize much more than if oxalate bind with something else, like with magnesium, for example. Okay, and ethanol, so the alcohol in beer, increases iron absorption as well as magnesium elimination. And this is the perfect recipe to have stones in your body accumulating in your body, because in your blood you will have oxalates. Beer will put oxalates in your blood, will put iron in your blood. The alcohol increases the iron absorption in your bloodstream, okay, and will eliminate magnesium. And magnesium is a natural antidote to oxalates, as we will see. Green juices. because you have to be smart when you make green juices. Choose the right vegetables. I really like green juices. I really encourage people to drink vegetable juices, but you have to be smart about it. A diet low in dairy products. Why? It's because when you eat oxalate rich foods, you need to eat calcium rich foods at the same time. So the oxalates will bind to the calcium in your digestive tract, and therefore the oxalates won't pass into your bloodstream, and that's what you want to avoid. Problems start when your oxalates pass into your bloodstream. So as long as they stay in your digestive system, you don't have to worry about it because you will excrete them. So if you eat dairy with meals that have oxalate rich foods, the oxalates will bind with the calcium in dairy and will stay in your digestive system and will be excreted. Okay? Ascorbic acid, and here I'm talking about synthetic vitamin C, not the natural vitamin C. Different studies have been made. You will form oxalate stones if you take synthetic vitamin C, especially because you can take very large amount of synthetic vitamin C and you cannot take very large amounts of natural vitamin C. And it's with very large amount of synthetic vitamin C that you can form stones, okay, but not with natural vitamin C. Synthetic vitamin D, because synthetic vitamin D makes your body absorb like 20 times the amount of calcium in your body, but you need the same amount of vitamin K2. So because vitamin K2 will put the calcium in the right places in your body. So if you only take synthetic vitamin D, you will have issues. Food not prepared correctly. We will talk about it in the next slides, how to eliminate oxalates. Poor hydration, of course, because if your urine is concentrated, then you will have more chances of forming stones. A lack of bile, because bile will eliminate oxalates from your body. Antibiotics, this is like the number one cause. You will have oxalate issues because you have a bad gut flora. Several bacteria in your gut produce an enzyme that deactivate oxalates. And especially this one, Oxalobacter formigens, but not only this one. There are many studies about this one, but also about lactic acid producing bacteria. They make the enzyme to eliminate oxalates. Okay, so antibiotics destroy your good gut flora that is in charge of so many things and that is in charge of eliminating oxalates, especially the antibiotics from the fluoroquinolone family. That is a horrible type of antibiotics. Avoid antibiotics at all costs, especially the antibiotics from the fluoroquinolone family. Very, very dangerous antibiotics. And the antibiotic azithromycin. We have been talking about this antibiotic for about 1 year and a half. This one is especially bad for Oxalobacter formigens. Dysbiosis and fungal infections, as we said, is a cause of oxalate poisoning and irritated and leaky gut also. So oxalates are good for you. Why? Okay, so we saw that oxalates can be bad for you, but they can also be good for you. And I talked about that in my last video about anti-nutrients last week. I really want to emphasize that in these videos about anti-nutrients, because anti-nutrients are not all bad. They can be good also. And we almost never hear that. We always hear that anti-nutrients are bad, that oxalates are bad. They can also be good, because this is how life is. Life is not all black or white. Nature is not all about killing you and hurting you, making you sick. Plants, herbs are not here to hurt you. Okay, I'm saying that especially for the people following like the carnivore diet. These people following a carnivore diet, they are all paranoid about plant foods, like, oh my god, plant foods are poisonous, they are toxic. Oh my god, that's not true. That's so not true. I use a lot of herbal medicine to heal many different diseases, to heal the gut, of course, but I use plant medicine all the time. And the anti-nutrients can hurt you, but they can be beneficial. It's not there's a saying in French, I'm not sure if it exists in English. We say something like it's not the poison hurting you, it's the dosage of the poison that hurts you or not. With many poisons, we make life-saving remedies. Okay, this is what you need to understand about herbs, about plants. They are good for you. Nature is good for us. We have to stop considering us humans as victims of nature. No bacteria, viruses, parasites are not here to hurt us. On the contrary, they are here to help us. It's part of life. It's the same with anti-nutrients and other poisons, okay? So, oxalates, they chelate heavy metals and excess minerals, okay? We talked about it. They chelate heavy metals. So the problem is when they chelate heavy metals in the bloodstream. So again, you want to avoid oxalates to get into your bloodstream. You want to keep them into your gut, okay? And there are several ways. We will talk about it right after here. And excess minerals, because many people have actually iron poisoning or have too much calcium in their body. So in that case, oxalates will be very good for you because it will prevent your body of absorbing too much iron or too much calcium. And most people have too much iron and too much calcium in their body. I'm thinking about Frank Tufano. For a while, he had like huge health issues, and he found out that's because he had too much iron in his body. He was following a carnivore diet with no vegetables. This is the perfect example where vegetables and their anti-nutrients that are so toxic can actually help the body. They help the body by avoiding too much iron accumulating in the body, okay? Oxalates have a particular affinity with very toxic metals like mercury or lead, okay? Especially mercury. Oxalate will choose to bind with mercury before binding with calcium or any other thing. So it's a good idea to eat vegetables rich in oxalates when you eat seafood, because we are told that seafood is becoming toxic because of the amount of mercury in seafood. If you eat seafood with, let's say, spinach in your digestive system, the oxalates of spinach will bind with the mercury in your fish. It will stay in your digestive system and will be excreted with your stools. This is very good. And oxalates have medicinal properties. They are apparative, meaning that they stimulate your digestive organs. They are purgative. They are diuretic. They clean your body. They are astringent, and they are anti-scurvy. Okay, because we said that many vegetables have both oxalic acid and vitamin C, because they make oxalates from vitamin C. How to eliminate oxalates, okay, from food? By cooking, especially boiling, because oxalates are water soluble. That's what you need to that's all you need to know. Oxalates are water soluble, so you cannot deactivate oxalates by grilling, or frying your pan or cooking in an oven. You need to boil the foods rich in oxalates and discard the water, because the oxalates will be gone in the water. That's the only way how you can deactivate oxalates. And also because of if you ferment also your food, I forgot to write it here, because bacteria, as we saw, they have enzymes that deactivate oxalates. Soaking, as we said, because oxalates are water soluble, and consume vegetables low in oxalates. How to eliminate oxalates from your body? To avoid kidney stones. If you have issues with oxalates or with kidney stones, how can you avoid having issues? Have a good natural diet. Don't eat too much sugar and don't eat any processed foods. Okay, so we talked about that already in this video. Read the book Nutrition and Physical Degeneration of Weston Price. I have a video about Weston Price. It will appear up there on your screen on the top right corner. Eat dairy products with vegetables rich in oxalates, because as I said earlier, if you eat like spinach with cheese in your digestive system, the oxalates in spinach will bind with the calcium in cheese, and it will precipitate and stay in your digestive system and get excreted with your stools. Whereas if it doesn't precipitate in your digestive system, it will pass into your bloodstream, and that's where you will have issues. Eat foods rich in vitamin B6. Of course, I never recommend synthetic vitamins or isolated vitamins. I don't recommend vitamin supplements. I don't recommend mineral supplements unless it is natural. When I say natural, it's like a concentrated form, a concentrated food form, okay, not an isolated vitamin or mineral. So foods rich in B6. Don't supplement with vitamin B6. Eat foods rich in B6 like liver and fish. Supplement with magnesium, but only with the natural form of magnesium, that is Nigari salt. That is a natural form of magnesium chloride. When I say natural, it's because it's not isolated. There are trace minerals with it. Magnesium oxalate is much more soluble than calcium oxalates. So if in your blood you have more magnesium than calcium, if you have oxalate passing through your blood, that's when you have a problem. But if in your blood you have more magnesium than calcium, oxalates will bind with magnesium, and magnesium oxalates are much more soluble than calcium oxalates. Therefore, it won't crystallize and it won't make stones, and you won't have kidney stones and other stone issues. Magnesium, very important, always important. It's a very good idea to regularly supplement with Nigari salt. Take citrates. Again, I don't recommend, supplements like calcium citrate or potassium citrate that come in tablets. No, use food. Lemon juice is very rich in citrates, so why buying chemical stuff? Drink lemon juice. Buy lemons. Okay, I'm not talking about lemon juice in a bottle. Buy real food, always real food. So buy lemons, make juice, and drink the juice of 1 or 2 lemons each day if you have oxalate issues. The citrate prevents oxalates from binding to calcium. Restore your intestinal flora. Eliminate fungal infections and take probiotics. Okay, you need to heal your gut, and to heal your gut flora, you can go on my website, thecandidaslayer.com, to learn how to heal your gut naturally. Restore, so I said that, vitamin K2, okay? Make sure you, again, I'm not talking about an isolated vitamin, I'm talking about foods rich in vitamin K2, like liver, goose liver, like emu oil, egg yolks, cheese, and stuff like that. Berberine is great because berberine help with insulin in your body, so it prevents insulin spikes, and insulin spikes are linked to kidney stones. Berberine help repairing your gut and your gut flora. I have a video about berberine on my channel. Go watch it. It appears now on the top right corner of your screen. And drink enough water, because if you don't drink enough water, your urine will be very concentrated, and then you will have more chances of making stones. People with stones should consume less than 50 milligrams of oxalates per day. You don't really need to worry about this number if you do everything we said in this video. Okay, the course to heal your gut, the link is under this video in the description box. If you want to heal your gut naturally, go on my website, thecandidaslayer.com. I see you in the next videos, and if you have questions, ask them under this video. I see you in the next video. Bye bye.